Sound check, sound check. One in the chat. One in the chat. If you can hear me, one in the chat. If you can hear me. Put the background down. One in the chat if you can hear me. What's good? What's good? Welcome to Afro-Sundays. I'm going to give a moment or two, man, for more people to tune in. I'm here to talk about the Rastafarian town Shashemene in Ethiopia. And anybody have questions about Ethiopia, I'll be able to answer those as well. So Shashemene is, I want to say it's one out of, let me look at my list. It's one out of four. It's one out of four cities that I guess you could say I have on my list to visit. So I visited 3 cities out of 4. Shashemene is one, and it's not a city that I'm gonna revisit, but it was one I was curious about. The only city I haven't visited yet on my list is, well, really 2, is Bayadar, and then there's another small town called Bishoftu I plan on visiting, and Hawassa is the other city that I visited outside of Addis. So far been to 3 cities, towns in Ethiopia, and I want to cover Shashemene for those that are familiar with it or those that are not familiar with it. So let me know who in the building, if you can. Just curious to see who's out there. Yeah, before I kind of get into it, I just got back from Ethiopia like maybe a week ago. A couple of things I accomplished while I was there. At some point I'll kind of share that. But it's a place that is slowly. Um, I'm getting to know more and more about the culture and if it's livable, safety, and all those things. So I should be back in Ethiopia in November for some time. And for those that don't know, you can stay up to 90 days as a tourist um, in Ethiopia. So I get those questions a lot. So today's topic is what's left of Shashemene, Ethiopia. Now let me give a little background history. Now I dropped 2 videos on Shashemene, so if you get a chance later, check out the videos. I pretty much did a tour of all the known establishments that the I guess you could say the Jamaicans, Rastafarians, or people that took advantage of the land grant that was issued by Haile Selassie. So I got 2 videos, so check those out. And I got some interviews with some people that's still there. So Shashemene is a town in Ethiopia. About the closest airport is in Hawassa, so about a 45-minute flight from Addis. Some people can travel by road. It could be about 4 hours by road. So back in the, I don't have my dates in front of me. So um, back during when Haile Selassie was emperor of Ethiopia, he was compelled to show his appreciation for what Black Americans did as far as helping Ethiopia um, in their war, in their prior war, and he wanted to show his appreciation by not only um, offering land to Black Americans, but Black people in the diaspora. And the land was designated in a town called Shashemene. Now, um, during that time, Black Americans also created a foundation to kind of help facilitate, to try to help facilitate the distribution and administration of the land. And this corporation was called the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, which was started by Black Americans. In the initial phases, Black Americans, there were Black Americans that relocated to Ethiopia, and based on the interviews I had, is that a lot of Black Americans ended up going back to the U.S. due to political differences between the U.S. and Ethiopia. Um, the Black Americans didn't want to have any issues with being on the side of communism. There was a communist ideology in Ethiopia, and if you know anything about, I can't think of the lady name, but she's in Cuba. So a lot of people didn't want to be kind of flagged as being like pro-communist, and so I think pretty much most Black Americans ended up leaving Ethiopia, and a void was created, which a lot of Jamaicans took advantage of. So the land was intended for Blacks of the diaspora. Black Americans um, initially took advantage of it. They left, and a lot of Rastafarians came to that land. That also includes, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and maybe a small percentage of other people. So um, before going there, I talked to my friend Jay Focus because he's been there before, and I was asking him questions like, I never been to Jamaica, for example, so I'm thinking about, okay, maybe they got some good authentic Jamaican food. I'm gonna see like all this, rich Jamaican culture. So in my mind, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna see, this place is gonna be identifiable. I'm gonna see, Jamaican colors. I'm gonna see the food. I may hear some Bob Marley, some reggae. So I'm thinking it's just gonna be like a little Jamaican. That was my initial thought. So I was really excited about checking it out. But when I went there, it was nothing how I imagined. Um, so let's just talk about let me talk about the places. Then I'll get into what's left. So one of the places I went to was called the 12 Tribes of Israel. So there's a church, and there's a church, and it's called the 12 Tribes of Israel. So those may be familiar with it. Israelite, some people may refer to them as Israelites, but they have a church there that I visited as well. And I talked to some people, and they kind of told me about some of the struggles that they are having with the locals, trying to keep the land that they have, and the Ethiopian government isn't has been giving them trouble because they don't have, for whatever reason, they don't have land registration. They don't have titles and deeds for this land, and so I don't know why that never happened during the time. Maybe at the time Ethiopia didn't issue certain type of documents, but that's the issue that a lot are facing there. So the 12 tribes of Israel, the Israelites, they have a church there. I went there. Um, a lot of them didn't want to be on camera, but their facility was kind of closed off, gated off. Um, Once you get there, people, you knock on this little fence, and people look and kind of see who you are before they let you in. Um, but it's kind of sad that they're actually fighting for what they have, or what's left. What's going on in Shashemene now? They're doing a lot of um, construction. They're tearing down a lot of old, buildings, sidewalks, and they're building up the city, and that's affecting a lot of people that have been have been in Shashemene, from the Black diaspora. Another place I visited was the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, and that place was a place where you go, the administrative things, the allocation of land at the time, and then also kind of like the legal representation of the people. So that's what the Ethiopian World Federation was doing. I also, hopefully, I don't have a delay, but I also visited the uh, another church called Naya Bingui Tabernacle. That was another church I visited, and one of the videos I was there, and the guy was kind of giving me a lot of the history on their belief. They actually have, which I was surprised, that church, they actually have formed a theology around Haile Selassie. Like they they look at him as as a Messiah in a sense, and they worship him. They worship him. They worship Haile Selassie. So they have a church that, and it's people still to this day. They look at Haile Selassie as a greater power, and that was kind of that was something new. They do have three restaurants. Only one restaurant was open when I was there. It was called the Boat House, which was named kind of like after Usain Bolt from Jamaica. Now, the food, I was kind of surprised with that when I went to the Boat House, and I'm just like, okay, do y'all have like jerk chicken? I'm thinking about all these Jamaican dishes, and the only thing they had on the menu was like a stewed fish or like a stewed chicken, and they had like rice and beans with like a salad, and that was pretty much it. So I was like, wow, like I could, what I mean, like I I couldn't even get like what I was thinking of a Jamaican cuisine experience there. So that was all that they had. Um, so I left there. Well, first going to Shashamani, like it looks like a regular Ethiopian town, and then I went to some areas where the the Rastafarians had homes and things like that. Like nothing was really built up. A lot of things look worn down. It doesn't look like nothing about it looks like it was a designated town. Um, and in one of the interviews I had, one of the guys mentioned that the Jamaicans failed at building. They pretty much got the land, um, and got comfortable. They got the land, didn't have a, I would say, forward thinking mindset, and they didn't build anything, and now they're having the issues that they have today, trying to keep what was given to us. So he also mentioned that he believes that if the Black Americans didn't leave, that Black American ingenuity, resources, um, it could have been something that could have been built great. It could have been a great diaspora in town. We don't have anything like that in Africa. When you think of all the communities in Africa, you know, there's Indian communities in Africa, there's Chinese communities in Africa, there's Lebanese communities in Africa. There's different communities in Africa, and this would have been probably the first, Black diasporan community, which unfortunately didn't, come into fruition. So it was disappointing seeing what could have been and seeing what it is today. Um, Nothing is really left of Shashamane. You know, if somebody was to ask me, like, should they visit? It's nothing. It's nothing to see. That's the sad reality. I mean, you may run into some people. Maybe you may be able to, talk to or get some interviews, but it's really nothing to see there. There's no uh, food experience. And maybe they hope to change that if they able to keep their land. There's no food experience. Most of the people, a lot of people left. A lot of people left, and then they are in land disputes. There has been some. I don't want to. Fighting to a certain degree. Um, like I said before, the government doesn't want to honor what Haile Selassie granted, and so I don't know what the future holds. They don't have money to really pursue things legally, so there, a lot of things their hands are tied. Like I wish it was something. I wish there was something I could do, um, to kind of help that situation, because it's a it's a lost opportunity. And one thing about Shashamane that they have is they have great weather. Like, the land that was given there is a great location. Like, a lot of Ethiopia, it's either dry, um, it could be cold, very chilly at night, or it could be very hot. And Shashamane is probably one out of four places that have, I would say, perfect weather year round, day and night. So that was, you know, that would have been something I would have wanted to take advantage of if that opportunity presented itself. So um, that's pretty much the sad reality with Shashamane. It's nothing is really left. If anybody has any questions or heard of Shashamane, let me know. Um, I'll be able to answer those questions. But yeah, a lot of places, when people hear about Ethiopia, you don't really hear about a lot of places to go outside of Addis. But people will say, okay, you could visit the Rastafarian area, and you're gonna be disappointed. You're gonna be disappointed. And I don't want to take anything away from them, because I know that I did visit, like, this hotel, which is a nice hotel. It's in one of my videos I dropped. It's called Zion Train Lounge. Um, so I don't want to take away tourism at the same time, but I do want to set expectations. If you do go to Shashamane, you will be close to the tourist town called Hawassa. Hawassa and Shashamane is about it was about a 30-minute drive. So if you in Hawassa, chilling. You can go to Shashamane for. I think I went there for like, I was there for like no more than 4 hours. So if you're going to, I wouldn't plan a trip solely around Shashamane. Like if you was to go, I would plan to like go to Hawassa. Maybe you could stay in Shashamane for a day or two if you really want to see for yourself. But I'm just setting expectations to say that if you want, if you're looking to see a Jamaican town or Jamaican village, whatever you want to call it, you're not going to see that. If you want to see the remaining Rastafarians, you can probably run into people, be able to talk to them, and ask some questions. If you do go, be mindful that a lot of them, they don't have money like that. So and I kind of wish I would have known before I came, because people were kind of asking me for money after I left because I exchanged numbers. But you know, donate some money. It could be equivalent to like $20. That could go a long way out there if you do go out there. So be mindful. Have cash on you just to maybe throw 10, the equivalent to 10 or $20. The people that give you their time and show you around and things like that. But don't have high expectations for food. Don't expect to see any certain visuals or anything organized. Uh, it's just something you can just say, I've been there, I seen it for myself, and move on. So that's the thing. But that's one of the four cities that I wanted to explore in Ethiopia, and it's not really too much after that. But if you please check out the videos, because some of the I did two videos. So the first Shashamane video, I covered, um, really both. I interviewed two different people, but it'll really give you a history of like what happened, the people that originally came there. I'll give you a lot of history on, and I got images of Haile Selassie, and the way he's revered, especially in the Rastafari community. And then the other video, it kind of I go into depth talking to someone, and he really talks about the contributions of Black Americans. I've seen discussions on YouTube where people trying to say that Haile Selassie didn't intend on, or he didn't want land for Black Americans. It was for other groups of people, which is not true. I heard different things, so I got the information from the source, and the primary source, people on the ground that's there, and they set the record straight on who's responsible, who was it intended for, and so forth. So I just wanted to put that out on Afro-Sundays. Just in the future, I'm going to cover, I'm going to talk about other cities I visited, Ethiopia. I'll start. I want to start doing more cultural streams, because right now this is a focus country, and then I'll see how things go from there. If I move to a different focus country or focus on other aspects as it pertains to um, Ethiopia or Eritrean culture as well. So that's pretty much all I got. No questions. Yeah, if you have any questions later after checking out the other videos, feel free to comment on the video. I respond to those um, all the time. And in conclusion, man, what's left for Shashamane? There's nothing really left, nothing really left. So it's your boy No Excuse of Afro-Sundays. And I'll catch you guys soon. Peace out.